Everyone, in this video we'll prove the inverse square relation for gravitation using the general case of an ellipse using Kepler's laws. So the Kepler's first law states that the planets revolve around the stars in an ellipse with stars at their foci. So if you have an ellipse, you have two foci. Okay, so let's say the sun is at this one and the earth moves around in this path. Okay, so the first law gives us the path is an ellipse. Okay, so the equation of an ellipse in the Cartesian coordinates is x square upon a square plus y square upon b square is equal to 1. What are a and b? So this length is twice of this length is the major axis, it's twice of a. So we divide this length in two parts. Okay, something this length is this semi-major axis, half of the major axis called a, and this is the minor axis, and b is this length called the semi-minor axis. So this is the equation of an ellipse, but this one is in Cartesian coordinates, and for today's video we'll be using polar coordinates because they are easy to handle. So the equation of an ellipse in polar coordinates with one of your foci at the origin is r as a function of theta. It's a 1 minus e square, e is the eccentricity, upon 1 minus e cos theta. Okay, this is the equation. E is the eccentricity, root 1 minus b square upon a square. It basically tells you how squished your ellipse is. If your eccentricity is very close to 1, then it's very squished, and if it's 0, it's basically a circle with your major axis equal to minor axis, or in other words a equal to b, which is the radius of the circle. So if you notice, a times 1 minus e square, this quantity is a constant. Okay, if your planet is here or anywhere on the path, this quantity will remain constant. So let me call this p 1 minus e cos theta. We'll be using this. So this is what we are going to do. If we find something as a constant, just label it, and because it makes things easier to work with. So from first law we have the equation. From the second law states that it transverses equal amount of areas in equal intervals of time. This means that the area transversed divided by the time taken, so the aerial velocity dA by dt is constant. dA by dt is constant. Let us call this VA, the aerial velocity. Say for example, a planet is in this position, and you let after time delta t, the planet is in, let's say, this position. So this is the area which the planet covers. Okay, in the first instant. Now let's say a planet is in this position. Okay, and you let delta t pass by, so a planet might be somewhere around here. Okay, and this is the area covered by the planet. So these two areas will be equal. Okay, this is what the second law says. So this is what we have, and to find out force as a function of your radius or other quantities, we will first try to find out the acceleration as a function of those quantities, and then this force is just mass times acceleration, so the dependence won't change much. Okay, so the formula for acceleration in polar coordinates, of course, is r double dot minus r theta dot square. This is in r cap direction. Okay, radially outward, plus 2 r dot theta dot plus r theta double dot in your theta cap direction or the tangential direction. Now, what is the area covered in a very small interval of time? What do I mean by this? Say your planet is at this position. After a very small interval of time, after dt time interval, infinitesimal time interval, your planet will be something in this position. Okay, this is a very small distance. So if this length is r, this length will also be r. Okay, so this area will look something like this. Okay, so these two are roughly the same, r. Okay, so let this angle be d theta, a very small change in theta. So this length will be r d theta. Okay, now if this strip is very thin, then this length will be perpendicular to r d theta. So r will be perpendicular to r d theta. Okay, so your dA, a very small area or differential element of your area, is half times base times height. So height is r times your base is r d theta. Okay, so it's 1 by 2 r square d theta. Now d theta is just theta dot times dt. Okay, theta dot times dt. This is your d theta. So this gives that dA by dt is 1 by 2 r square theta dot, and this is your aerial velocity. This is the formula for your aerial velocity. Now this is constant for a planet. Now if I differentiate this quantity, then I must get 0. So d by dt of VA is 0. So this is the same as differentiating 1 by 2 r square theta dot. Okay, so we just differentiate this and we'll put it equal to 0 and see what we'll get. So first, since r is a function of time, theta dot is also a function of time, we'll use the chain rule. Okay, so first I'll differentiate. First you differentiate, keep theta dot as constant. Okay, differentiate r square with respect to r, you get 2r, and then you differentiate r with respect to time, so you get r dot, plus you keep your theta dot as r square as constant, and then differentiate theta dot, so you get r square theta double dot. Okay, and this has to be equal to 0. So you can take r common, we get r by 2 r dot theta dot plus r theta double dot as 0. Okay, and these two are exactly the same thing. Okay, now of course r is obviously not 0, so r by 2 is obviously not 0. Therefore this quantity 2 r dot theta dot plus r theta double dot has to be equal to 0, and this is the tangential component of your acceleration. So we have basically showed that if your aerial velocity is constant, then your tangential acceleration will be 0. So that means all of your acceleration points radially inward. Okay, this means that the force on this particle is inward. So if your planet is right here, your force has to be along this path, along the radius. Okay, not in some tangential, not in any direction, not in this direction, nothing like this, radially. Okay, now we are left to evaluate this part. So let me clear things up. So this is what we have found out. Your acceleration is only radial. This is the radial, r double dot minus r theta dot square. Okay, your r as a function of theta is p upon 1 minus e cos theta, where p is a1 minus e square, and your aerial velocity is constant, so d by dt 1 by 2 r square theta dot is equal to 0. Now in this equation 1 by 2 is also constant there, which means r square theta dot should also be a constant. Okay, and let me call this constant L, small l. Okay, so with all this in place, we'll be using this to evaluate r double dot. So we have r equal to p 1 minus e cos theta. So we'll be differentiating this equation. So if you differentiate this equation, you will get, with respect to time, you will get r, and you will also get r dot and theta dot, and then we'll differentiate it again to get r double dot. Okay, and then we'll plug these values in our final equation, this one. So this is for the formula for r, which gives p as r 1 minus e cos theta. Okay, and now we differentiate, because if you differentiate, p is a constant, so LHS will become 0. Differentiate this with respect to time, keep the first function as constant, differentiate this with respect to theta, and then multiply with d theta by dt, which is just theta dot, plus keep this thing as constant, differentiate your r with respect to time, so 1 minus e cos theta dr by dt, which is just r dot. Okay, so d by d theta of 1 minus e cos theta is 1, derivative of 1 is 0, derivative of cos theta is minus sin theta, so we are left with r e sin theta dot plus r dot 1 minus e cos theta. Alright, and now we'll just try to write these things in terms of our constant. So we have defined this as a constant, this is also, p is also constant, so we'll try to rewrite this in terms of p and l. Okay, so theta dot is L upon r square, so we just place L upon r square in place of theta dot right here. Okay, and 1 minus e cos theta, so p equal to r into 1 minus e cos theta, 1 minus e cos theta will be p upon r. So we'll just place these things. Okay, and so from this we get p r dot divided by r equal to minus, so this goes to the right hand side, L upon r e sin theta. Alright, now the r's go away, it's easy. So we have r dot and we need r double dot, therefore we differentiate again. Okay, so we get p r double dot, differentiate this, we're differentiating this with respect to time, p is a constant, it goes out of the differentiation, you get with r double dot equal to minus L e, differentiate sin theta with respect to time, so d by d theta times d theta by dt, which is theta dot. This is just cos theta. Okay, so equal to minus L e cos theta dot. Alright, now what is e cos theta in terms of our constants and r? So again 1 minus e cos theta is p upon r, which gives e cos theta equal to 1 minus p divided by r. Okay, and theta dot is L upon r square. So again we plug these right here, we get p r double dot equal to minus, so L times theta dot, so it will be L square upon r square times e cos theta. e cos theta is this term, 1 minus p upon r. Okay, so from this we get that r double dot is equal to L square upon p r square p upon r minus 1. So we have taken minus 1 inside the bracket. This is our formula for r. Okay, and we need to just evaluate this thing, and this thing is very easy. Okay, r theta dot square. Okay, theta dot is again we'll be using this thing, L upon r square. So L times L square upon r to the power 4 L square upon r cube. Now your acceleration is this term r double dot minus r theta dot square. So r double dot, this thing minus this one, it is L square upon p. So, and I am opening this right here. Okay, L square upon r cube, the p's cancel out, minus L square upon p r square. So this is your r double dot term minus r theta dot square. So this is L square upon r cube. Okay, so these two terms cancel out and you're left with your L square divided by p r square with a minus sign in the r cap direction. So finally your acceleration is minus L square upon p r square in r cap direction. Now L is a constant, L square will be a constant, and L square upon p will be a constant because p is also a constant. Therefore we can write it as acceleration as some minus k upon r square, where k is another constant, r cap, and this is very crucial. This means that your acceleration is some constant divided by r square in the minus r cap direction. So r cap times negative minus r cap direction, radially inward. Now this means that your acceleration decreases as 1 over r square in the radial direction, and force of gravity is just mass times acceleration. So the magnitude of the force of gravity as a function of r, as a function of the distance, will be inversely proportional to 1 upon r square. So it's inversely proportional to the square of the distance. This relation is known as the inverse square law for gravitation. So in this video we have shown you that how to prove the inverse correlation from Kepler's laws, and this proof I found it on ResearchGate. The link to the full document is in the description. As always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned.